I saw this video by the channel called MorePegasus. Um, the title of the video was called Gen Z is Actually Doomed. And he's basically talking about how Gen Z is really messed up. And while I agree with a lot of what he says, I don't think all of Gen Z are messed up. I'm not saying that's what he's saying, I'm just saying that's what I think. Um, I think a lot of Gen Z are actually quite clever. This young man being one of them, of more Pegasus. Yeah, he seems to really observe what's going on around him, and it takes a certain kind of intelligence to not only observe your own behavior, but observe your peers around you, and I think that's a really clever thing. As for these Gen Zers, like, oh boy, they've got a lot more to worry about than we did when we were that age. I'm just some old fart from the late 80s. But yeah, and a lot of them would probably turn around and blame my generation, which, I mean, it could partially be to blame for that. I'm open to that. A lot of millennial parents, millennial as well, that's another thing. I found out I'm a millennial and I was born in the late 80s. So, and I thought a millennial would be someone that was born post 2000, but it seems like, yeah, I don't know. I don't get this labeling of generations. It's like, because millennial technically would be like two, perhaps even three generations of people, which is ridiculous. Gen X and Y and all that didn't have any of that shit. They were just like, yeah, this is the baby boomers, and yeah, this is, whatever. It's and it just kind of gets blurry a little bit before that, I suppose. But yeah, I just find it really weird. Anyway, I think that millennial parenting, shall we say, should we use that term, um, is pretty bad for the most part. And I think like a lot of them tried this hands off kind of parenting. Where, oh, we shouldn't be making them feel bad. They're our kids. They're our friends. We're not going to be a parent. We're going to be a friend, and we're going to just let them walk all over us and do whatever they want. And it's like, yeah, it's that's fine. We've got a lot of fucked up Gen Zers out there. Um, but that too, as well as like there's so much that has failed these kids. Like you've got the medical system for one. They've thrown packets of antidepressants at these children, like that packet of M&Ms. I personally, when I was, they even tried doing that to my generation. Um, they threw antidepressants at me, myself, when I was in high school, when my brain was still developing, and that, and they, you're probably like, yeah, that explains it. Um, but yeah, it really threw me around. Like, it really screwed with me. And these kids, like, they've got no one to turn to and stuff like that. Some of them, and I couldn't imagine being in that position where I didn't have a family that, if I didn't have a family that gave a shit about me, I'd be pretty lost and pretty fucked up. And I think that's part of the problem with these ones that are really messed up and they're on TikTok and stuff. Um, they just needed sort of to have someone listen to them. That's all they really needed at the end of the day. But now they've probably got like a whole cocktail of drugs in them, and they're just bouncing off the walls, mad. So yeah, that's one reason that I think these kids are pretty messed up. And then you've got like so we've got the parents, we've got the medical system, and then we've got like government as well. Parliament is absolutely shocking here in New Zealand. Like we've had this, like, their generation. Oh, my generation got fucked over of not being able to buy a house. A few of us sneaked through and managed to save up and get one, but there's a lot of us that don't. I myself do not own my own home. So yeah, this is, and Gen Z are lucky to even be able to buy a car these days. Like a car for them is like a house was for us. Like out of our reach. There's just no way. It's almost like it's impossible to be able to get a job that pays enough to be able to actually save up for one, because the prices of just everyday living is just absolutely ridiculous. So they're fucked over like so many generations in a row, and it's just I'm talking about politicians, you know. But yeah, that's another reason why I think these kids are messed up, because they're not from a loving home. Um, they had never had anyone just want to sit and listen to them. They've never they can't afford things that they want to be able to afford to just treat themselves. I mean, I'd be pretty fucking miserable with that too. Um, but I've got everything I ever want. I'm rich in the sense I've got love and family around me. That's all I worry about now. I don't care about material stuff. Um, but if you don't have that, it's really sad. And yeah, and as for the cocktail of drugs, it took a lot for me to get off of antidepressants. I left them in a way that I'm not going to recommend for my own channel's reasons. But let's just say I went cold turkey off of them. It really threw me around, um, and it's not recommended to do it that way. But honestly, I don't know how to get off of them, because they're so bad for you, man. Like I had, I never, when I was younger, I never actually had any like suicidal thoughts, or well, I'd had suicidal thoughts, but I never pictured about how I'd do it and things like that. And then when I was on those drugs, they, I was honestly like afraid of myself. I've never been more afraid of myself than when I was on those pills. And they tried me on two different types of antidepressants. And they didn't even give it time for it to leave my system before they chucked another lot at me and were like, oh, yeah, try these ones then. It's like, it's not right. I'm just your fucking guinea pig. Like, what? um, so yeah, uh, they were going to try me on a third lot, and that's when I told them to stuff it. So, yeah, I was getting really, sort of these, when I was going off of them, I was getting these like brain ticks, these sort of like bursts of energy, um, sort of convulsing through from like my head to my body, and it was just like a quick sharp jolt of energy. It was like, when you get shocked by an electric fence, I guess you could say something like that. It's something that I could only really refer it to. I'm not very good at explaining it, but it wasn't nice. And this is going to sound really messed up, but also when I would try and sleep at night time, I'd shut my eyes and I'd see really detailed, like disgusting images of like rotting corpses and skeletons of rotting flesh on them and things like that. It was just absolutely disturbing and disgusting. Like it's not good. Um, that was really scary, because it was something that I couldn't really control, and it was only when I was going off those pills. Um, that's a that's a sign that there's something not right with you, um, mentally and spiritually. So yeah, that's something to really take away from that, and I feel sorry for anyone that is going through that. Or and no wonder these kids are like doing like crimes and things like that, and these shootings and stuff in the states. No wonder that's a thing, because but they don't talk about that. They don't talk about the pharmaceuticals that these children are consuming. They only talk about the guns. Like there's no other contributing factors. Are you kidding me? So that's something that no one seems to be focusing on whenever they talk about the United States and their Second Amendment. Um, so yeah, I feel like these kids have got a lot, like the whole world on their damn shoulders, and I can see why though. they're depressed, but it's like, they just got to know that they're not alone, and that there's a lot of people out there that are in the same boat of how frustrating and shitty this world is, um, and how shitty it can be. But there's a lot of good in this world too, and I think that we tend to overlook that because of our own personal problems, and it's sort of like, oh, it's not a problem until it hits me type attitude. That's just human nature. But it's like, uh, if we actually just stop for once in a while and listen to people, just talk to them. That's all you need. You don't need to worry about like pills and shit like that. I think even really good doctors and that have been in that industry for a long time, um, have even said that, I try not to prescribe kids with with antidepressants and things like that, because they're you do just need someone to listen to you and talk to you every once in a while. It's not like it's like a last resort type thing. And we're only finding out now about how there's like this chemical imbalance thing's a load of bullshit, and it's actually has nothing to do with you know this. I think this study just came out recently, and now they're turning around. This happens in the news all the time in the media, and that they turn around and say, oh, oh, this is great, this is awesome, everyone get on board with this, and then about 5 years or so later, they're like, oh yeah, we fucked up, this is but they don't say we fucked up, they just go, oh, turns out this wasn't right. What a surprise that was. This is in the latest study, blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, you kind of fucked up a whole lot of people with that shit. It's like the same with these jabs that they're rolled out now, for this COVID shit. It's just the same. They've hurt and killed and maimed a lot of people, but will they ever hear them? Like, will these people's stories ever be told? I mean, slowly they're coming out. Again, like, you don't have to agree with me on any of what I say. I just need to remind people of that, because there's a lot of people that disagree with me. But hey, it's all good. I respect your views and what you have to say, and I'm willing to listen. If you want to tell me what you think, I'm not just going to throw people's opinions aside or block them out or anything like that. I think it's important that we all have a dialogue and actually talk about stuff, because that is what the problem with the world is right now. It's like we're just turning around and saying, you are my enemy because you say the opposite to me. It's not right. So yeah, I just thought I'd shed some opinion on Gen Z, and my niece at the moment's really sort of at that age where she's sort of like just becoming from like a woman, from not a school kid anymore, and she's just kind of figuring out what she wants to do in the sense of jobs and things like that, and or she wants to go to university or anything like that. And so it's yeah, it's kind of I think she's at the age where she's just sort of working all that stuff out. And I went to uni and got my diploma in animation and film, years after I left school, and I think that was a better way of doing it. If you're thinking about doing something like that, when you leave school, I wouldn't have had the concentration after I left school because of all the work they throw at you. Like, I had a lot of work thrown at me. It wasn't as much as these kids are getting now, but it was a lot. And like, it was manageable back then. And yeah, I think that the best thing you can do is just like leave school, get a dead end job for a bit. At least when you're working, you're actually earning money. When you go to uni, they automatically take a whole bunch of money from you. So yeah, I wouldn't have had the concentration if I'd just left school and jumped straight into university. Uh, so yeah, there's that. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I just wanted to say my piece. All right, catch you later.